Yo, what's good everyone? Thank you for tuning in to today's video. Unfortunately, I am feeling a little bit under the weather today, as you may be able to tell from the sound of my voice, but I'm trying to push through it. I didn't want to just have a full week of no content because I'm feeling a little bit under the weather, so we're pushing through it. I have a brand new video to bring you guys today, and because we don't actually have any pickups to take a look at, instead we are mixing it up. We're doing a brand new video concept that we've never done on this channel before, so I'm really excited about it. So let's not take up too much time on the intro, sit back, relax, and let's go ahead and dive straight into this video. So before we go ahead and actually dive into the video itself, I just want to give a huge shout out to the person who actually came up with the concept behind this video. So a huge shout out to Erkin from Life of A Broski. Now he recently did his video on top 10 shoes that he wishes that he had. And I was really interested by the video concept. I even commented that on the video. He then replied and said he'd be interested to see mine. So I figured that was an open invitation to do this video for you guys today. So Erkin, huge thank you for coming up with something a little bit different, because I was scrambling and I didn't know what video to do this week. So I'm glad that you came up with yours. Now, my list is going to be my list, so you might not agree with some of these pairs. I did try and keep it realistic. We can all go ahead and say Nike Mags and M&M Carhartts and all those other kind of things, but for the most part, those shoes are unattainable, so I didn't include them in my list. This is 10 shoes that I'm actively trying to add into my collection over whatever period of time it may take to get them all, but this is my 10 shoes that I wish that I had, and that's enough rambling, so let's go ahead and dive into my list. God, the vocal cords are killing me. God damn. So just kicking off my list, they're in no particular order because at the end of the day, I want all 10. But this is the one we're going to kick off the list with. So first up, we have the Air Jordan 13 He Got Game. Now the Jordan 13, for the most part, is actually one of my most favourite silhouettes. Ever since I got into collecting Jordans, which was back in like early 2020 or maybe even late 2019, one of the first retros that I got in my collection from like the Jordan 1 through 14 was the Jordan 13 Flint. As soon as I got them, I fell absolutely in love with the Jordan 13 model, and the more I looked into them, the He Got Games just became one of the ones that I just had to get for my collection. Now, unfortunately, the last time they did release, which I believe was 2018, 2019, I wasn't into collecting sneakers back then, so I did miss the boat on those. And even though the price isn't necessarily terrible in my size, I believe it's around £300 to £400, still a lot of cheese, still a lot of bread. So it's not something that I'm prepared to drop right now with all the releases that I'm trying to get for retail. But it is definitely something I'd love to dip back in the market for. You know, ever since I saw the pictures of Denzel wearing them and then I watched the film as well, it's just one of those shoes that I just have to have. Incredible looking. Hopefully they'll retro them again one day soon, because this is definitely a one shoe I would love to have in the collection. So just moving on swiftly to the next shoe up on our list, and unfortunately this shoe, when it actually released, I completely wrote it off, and I just can't believe I did that. So the next shoe on my list is the Joey Freshgoods New Balance 990 V3 outside close. Now, ever since that shoe released, I've been up and down about it. When I talked about it in my upcoming monthly look, I said it was too expensive. It was a nice looking shoe, but I wasn't prepared to pay, I think, £230 retail. Why? Back then, I really wasn't collecting New Balances that way, and I really wasn't trying to pay that much money at retail even. But ever since I started to see the reviews, the on-feet looks, the outfit ideas, I've just been absolutely obsessed with that shoe. Even now, even more recently, even though the shoe only released last year, on my timeline, I've seen a review by Logan James, shout out to you, as well as Josh Dunn, again, shout out to you as well. So these are, in the last couple of weeks, people have been obtaining these shoes. Maybe they've had them for a while and they've only just got around to doing the videos. But seeing them again on the timeline, it just reignited my love for that shoe, and it is definitely one I would love to have. Probably, in my humble opinion, one of the best 990 V3s I've ever seen. I know it's a bit of a hype thing to say because it's a collab, but it is definitely one of those shoes I would love to have in the collection. So just moving on to the next shoe up on our list, which is the very first, but not the only Air Max 1 on this list. If you'd have asked me my top 10 last year, it'd have had a very different look to this year. But this year I've become absolutely incredibly obsessed with the Air Max 1. And this is definitely one of my favourite ones that I've seen over the last couple of years. So the next shoe that we are looking at is the Nike Air Max 1 London. And ever since I first saw it, I've always liked this colourway. I remember when the Casino Air Max 1s dropped, somebody actually said that they would rather pass on those and save up for the Londons. Whilst I decided not to do that, I can definitely see his point. It is probably one of the cleanest Air Max 1 colourways from the last few years. Definitely a massive favourite of mine. The price point is pretty expensive. I think in my size it's about £400, which is definitely a lot to pay for an Air Max 1. There are a couple of other ones higher on the list, you might say, that are a lower price that I would probably go for instead of these. But if the time was right and I found a good price, this is definitely one I would love to add into the collection. This is just absolutely an incredible shoe. So just moving on to the next shoe on my list. This next one is, I believe, pretty much a fan favorite for a lot of people. So next up we have the New Balance 2002R Protection Pack in the Rain Cloud colorway. Now the Protection Pack, of course, garnered a huge attention. Everybody loves the Protection Pack, and if anything, it really set New Balance off in a way that only normally collabs would do. And a lot of people actually do think that these are collabs, but they're actually just particularly just like GR releases. Now the first colorways that did release from the Protection Pack were released in slightly limited quantities, and that's why the price point is the price point for them. But honestly, the Rain Cloud colorway of everything that's released in the Protection Pack is by far the best colorway in my opinion. Again, it is something that pops up quite frequently in videos and on my timeline, and every time I see it I just feel incredibly salty that I'm just probably not going to have these for quite some time. One of the more pricier shoes in this list, especially in my size, and it's not something that I would be prepared to pay right now. But again, if the time's right, I have the money available, and it's not going to leave me completely skinned, I would absolutely love to have these. So just moving on to the next one. This next shoe that we are taking a look at is truly one of my favourites. So next up we have the Air Jordan 3 in the True Blue colorway. Now when it comes to the Jordan 3, they have effectively a Mount Rushmore from the original colorways, which include the Fire Reds, Black Cements, the True Blues, as well as the White Cements. Now currently I do have the Fire Reds and the Black Cements. Hopefully you can see those just behind me. And we also are supposed to be getting the White Cements next year. Now, we are going to be getting a similar looking colorway to the True Blues in, I believe, a Wizards inspired colorway next year. So it's probably as close as I'm going to get for the time being. But I've been skulking on eBay. I've seen quite a few listings, to be honest. A few worn pairs, few DS. And they are very tempting at around £300 in my size. Now, of course, the shoe last released in 2016, so we're approaching, like, you know, nearly 7 years since the shoe released. So we're going to get into that territory of, if it's not been worn, it's going to be very hard to wear, or the midsole's going to start cracking, or, you know, the shoe's going to just not necessarily hold up or last for that long. So I'm kind of on the fence as to whether I could actually buy a 2016 pair, just because I'd want a DS pair. And then, is it going to be wearable? Is the midsole going to crumble? And those are the kind of issues I'm facing. So I may very well just have to wait until they retro again. But the fact they retroed in 2016 with the Nike Air on the heel, the fact I want to complete the Mount Rushmore, I have to get these one day. Definitely one of the shoes on this list where if I had to say right now which one I'd want the most, this is a very top, you know, very up there as one of the contenders for one of the shoes I would absolutely love to add in. But for the time being, we'll just have to enjoy the ones we've got. So just moving on to the next shoe up on our list, and this next pair isn't necessarily what you would consider a classic, but in my opinion is definitely one day going to be looked upon as a classic shoe. So this next one that we are taking a look at is the Patta Air Max 1 in the Aqua colorway. Now, I have 3 of the Patta releases so far. I have the Monarchs, I have the Dark Russet, and I have the Maroons. Arguably 2 of the worst, depending on who you're asking, and the Monarchs, in my opinion, is definitely top 2 as one of the best, along with Aquas. Now, ever since those 2 released, I really wanted to get the Aquas. I've always wanted that shoe. Unfortunately, I just never got it, and then I kind of missed the boat, and the price just flew up to around £300 in my size. Not something I'm prepared to pay. It's around that price point for the black colorway as well as the white one. But in my personal humble opinion, I do feel like the Monarchs and the Aquas are the best of the pack and a modern classic. The fact it released last year means that I don't think the prices are going to go up. So I'm not like incredibly urgently trying to get this shoe as soon as possible. I'm waiting to find the right price. And when the right price presents itself, you better believe it, I won't be hesitating and I will get these for the personal collection.
Shut up and take my money!
So just moving on to the next shoe up on this list, this next pair is actually a very sentimental one. So the next shoe that we are taking a look at is the Air Jordan 3 A Ma Maniére. Now this is a shoe that I managed to get for my daughter, and I wasn't expecting to get them. I didn't manage to hit on, retail for sneakers. Somebody else actually came through and hooked me up with these for retail, which I was incredibly grateful for. Even now, I'm still incredibly grateful that they went out of the way, secured the pair, and then sent it to me as soon as they got it. So again, huge shout out to you, Dean. Definitely do appreciate it. I'm not sure you'll see this video, but I hope maybe you do.
Thank you!
It's a pair that my daughter is now able to fit in as well. They look incredibly cute in her size, and it's just a shoe that I would love to have to be able to look back on when she's older and be able to say that we had them together, we wore them around the same time. So this is one that is probably quite urgent in terms of the rest of the list, but believe it or not, it's probably the most expensive one on the list. Hell. But it is definitely one I do want to get, and I do want to get it quite quickly if I can, maybe to sell maybe 1 or 2 pairs to fund that purchase. So if anyone has a pair in a size 9 for a reasonable price, reach out to me, because I'm definitely trying to add these to the collection. So just moving on to the next shoe up on this list. This next shoe I've technically had in the past, but also technically I haven't at the same time. Let me just explain. So the next shoe that we are taking a look at is the Nike Air Max 1 in the anniversary red colorway. Now unfortunately, again, because of when it actually last released or last retroed, I wasn't really into collecting sneakers. I missed the boat on it. When they actually did the Nike by You for the Air Max 1, I created my design of my Nike by You Air Max 1 based on the anniversary red colorway, and I actually copied an idea that I saw on Instagram. I can't remember who put it up first, but they put up all the instructions on how to make it as exact as it was, and they came out looking incredibly clean, and I wore my Nike by You Air Max 1 literally into the flipping ground. The outsole was completely destroyed, heel dragged, just everything, it was just completely destroyed, and that was as close to the anniversary red as I've ever gotten. Definitely is one that I feel like I have to have as a, you know, future Air Max 1 collector. I mean, I'm still only just starting out, but having an OG colorway in there, like the anniversary red, and like some of the other ones as well, like the Royal Varsity Blues, Royal Blues, whatever you want to call them, and just like OG colorways, just maybe adds a little bit more credibility to the Air Max 1 collection. And the fact that it's the anniversary red colorway just looks absolutely incredible. Definitely one I can't wait to get. Can't wait for him to retro again. Even if they do a Nike by You, I would love to remake that colorway as well. So I have to get these eventually one day. I'm not running out to pay resale for them because they're quite expensive. But I definitely feel like down the road, one day, would love to have these for the collection. So as we look to close out this video, we only have another couple of pairs to talk about. This next shoe is probably going to be the most attainable shoe on this entire list, as it is actually scheduled to be retroing in 2023. So you probably already know what the shoe is. This next one is the Air Jordan 3 White Cements. Now it is supposed to be getting the reimagined treatment like the Chicago ones that we are scheduled to be getting later this year, but I don't care about all that stuff adding any stories to it. I just want a White Cement 3 in my collection. Even though they're probably going to do incredibly large stock numbers like they did with the Fire Reds, I still do need to do everything I need to get these. It's 2 per minimum in my opinion. It's such an incredibly clean, incredibly versatile, incredibly beautiful shoe. Really excited about that one. It is just one of those shoes that I have to get, and I'm hoping they are going to do full family sizing so I can lace up the kids as well, because this shoe doesn't come around all the time. It's one of the best Jordans of all time in my opinion, and this is definitely a shoe you will be seeing a review on the channel for down the line, because I definitely am going to get these shoes. And last but by no means least, this next shoe is actually the one that got away. So the final shoe that we will be talking about today is the Air Max 95 in the neon colorway that last released in 2020. Now, leading up to that release, I was incredibly excited about the shoe. I've always loved the Air Max 95. I've always loved Air Max in general, but there's something about the neon 95s, like the infrared 90s, like the anniversary red ones. There's just something special about it. There's an aura around it, and I was incredibly excited to try and get them at Christmas 2020. Now, I did actually get some intel that they were going to be doing an incredibly huge stock numbers. They're going to be everywhere. They're going to be sitting at your local JD. They're just going to be everywhere, readily available. And because maybe, you know, I wasn't too familiar with how things worked, and I was only just for maybe about a year or so starting to collect shoes, I was still very new to all of this. Really wasn't sure about entering raffles. I was just kind of doing what people suggested I did. Didn't know too much about it myself. Because of all the shoes that were supposed to be releasing, I cancelled all my raffles, and eventually I thought I'd just be able to walk into JD and get them. Of course, that didn't happen. In hindsight, I definitely will never be doing that again. But yeah, it is just one of those things. I'll never pay £350 for an Air Max 95. I just can't do it. I'm from the era of where they were 110s because they cost 110. So to pay £350 now is just not something I could ever do. It is still arguably top 5 best Air Max of all time in my opinion, and is definitely one I will look to get in the collection the next time they come around. They do tend to retro every 5 to 10 years. Maybe not in the same way they did in 2020, but you know, I don't really care. As long as I get a Neon 95 down the line, whether it's a 95 by me through the Nike program, or whether it's an actual retro release, I will have these one day. Still gutted I don't. I could have had them at retail because I feel like I would have had a good shot, but I guess we'll never know. Just one of those things, but definitely the perfect shoe to close out this list. So there it is, that is my top 10 sneakers that I wish that I had in my collection. Just a little bit of fun, nothing to be taken too seriously, but it's definitely a good opportunity to take stock of some of the shoes that I will be dipping back in the market for eventually, and I'm really excited to hopefully be able to tick these off and bring you guys some reviews down the line. Now, I would actually love to hear your guys' opinions as well, so if you want to leave your comments in the comment section below with 10 shoes that you wish that you had, and I'm also going to be calling out a few people as well that I do want to see do this video on their channels as well. So Grail, Pat, as well as Sneaker Adjusty. I want to see you guys do it. Anyone who also has a YouTube channel, do feel free to take this as an open invitation. Do the video for your channels because I definitely do want to see it. But you three, I'm going to be on you guys. I want you guys to do it as soon as possible. I'm going to, Tony D2 Wild it. I'm calling you guys out and I want to see those videos on your channel as soon as possible. So make sure to tag them. Make sure they know about this video because we need to see those videos. But if you have stuck around to the end, I just want to say a massive thank you. If you haven't already, please feel free to smash that subscribe button. Also, do make sure the bell notification is switched on so you never miss a video. And I hope to see you all again in the next one. Peace.
Thank you for watching my dad's YouTube video. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. Bye.